Your flights are booked, your hotels are reserved, and you've even locked in a few amazing experiences. Your trip is almost ready. But how are you actually getting from point A to point B once you're in Europe? I'll just figure it out when I get there might be the riskiest travel strategy of all. Today, I'm going to walk you through how to choose the right type of ground transportation for your trip so that your vacation runs smoothly from city to city. Hey, I'm Angela. I moved from the US to Europe 6 years ago, and since then, I've crisscrossed this continent by train, rental car, ferry, Uber, you name it. And through trial and error, and one very chaotic travel day between France and Italy, I've learned that your trip's success doesn't just depend on where you're going. It depends on how you're going to get there. That's why I started my travel blog, Notes from Europe, to help thoughtful travelers skip the stress and get to the good part of traveling across Europe. Ground transportation isn't glamorous, but it's the connective tissue that ties your itinerary together. Simply put, your ground transportation just needs to work. And when it doesn't, you need to be aware of the alternatives. Let's assess the options for ground transportation and when you should use each type. For most travelers moving between major cities, trains are the best option. They're often faster than flying, especially once you factor in airport security and early check-in times. There's also no need to worry about liquids limits in your luggage or baggage fees, and booking in advance usually means a better fare anyway. My go-to for finding and booking European train travel in English is Rail Europe. Rental cars make the most sense when you're heading to remote or rural destinations, like the Scottish Highlands or the Tuscan countryside, where public transportation isn't very accessible. A car gives you flexibility and freedom, but it also comes with potential downsides: fuel costs, parking challenges, and highway tolls. And one important thing to know, automatic transmission cars are far less common in Europe. So if you can't drive a stick shift, book well in advance and make sure that you choose the automatic option. I recommend using Discover Cars to compare prices, car types, and insurance options when renting a car. Private transfers are best when you're prioritizing ease. This could be an airport pickup after a long international flight or getting from one small city to another. It's especially helpful if you have a lot of luggage or if you're traveling with kids. I use Daytrip to book transfers like this. It's a reliable platform that connects travelers with vetted English-speaking drivers. And finally, when you're traveling within cities, public transportation from buses and trams to subways and regional commuter trains will be your best option. You don't need to book these in advance, though Omio is my choice for booking local transit tickets in one place without having to download a bunch of apps. A few years ago, I was traveling from Cannes to Milan. I'd booked my train tickets in advance, felt super organized, and then the trains between France and Italy were canceled. As in, the train just stopped and we were told to disembark because the journey would not be possible. No warning, no backup plan. I had a flight to catch in Milan and no idea how I was going to get there. Total panic. Then, by sheer luck, because it happened to be the same weekend as the Monaco Grand Prix, a group of American travelers nearby offered to split an Uber with me to Genoa, where the trains were still running. After a quick train from Genoa to Milan, I made my flight. Barely. That experience taught me one huge lesson. Hope is not a transportation strategy. Since then, I'm always mindful of the backup options for ground transportation in any given area. Because when things go sideways, and they will, trust me, knowing what your options are can save the entire trip. What about you? Have you ever had a transportation plan fall apart or come together in a surprising way? Drop your story in the comments. I love to read them, yes, but it also helps other travelers more than you think. Here's how I approach planning my ground transportation. If you're traveling long distances between major cities like Paris and Amsterdam, your best option will be taking a long distance train. If you're venturing to a part of the continent that lacks plentiful train travel, then a rental car will most likely be your best bet. Unless it's just for a day trip, in which case it might be worth the cost to outsource headaches like insurance and refueling and just opt for a private transfer instead. And if you're staying in one place for the majority of your trip, local transit is easy to sort out once you arrive. And if it's impacted by strikes or construction, keep in mind you can always rely on taxis or ride shares as a backup option. My biggest tip? Take a moment before your trip starts and map out the major travel segments of your trip. If there are any parts that seem a bit hazy, like you're not sure entirely how you're getting to that next place, then that's really the area that you need to clarify and fast. Because when your ground transportation is seamless, your trip feels like it's unfolding exactly the way that it should. If you like how I simplify the logistics of European travel, then you'll love my free email course, How to Plan a Trip to Europe. Through 8 bite-sized lessons delivered straight to your inbox, I'll walk you through every major planning step, from choosing destinations and booking flights to staying connected and packing smart. It's totally free, and you can sign up using the link in the description below. And speaking of finishing touches, the next episode is the final one in this series. In it, we'll talk about the emotional mementos of travel and how to bring home souvenirs, photos, and memories that actually mean something. Because the best trips don't just live on your camera roll, they should surround you every day. I'll show you how. Tap here for the next video and to wrap up your trip planning process.